Byron Donalds, running for governor of Florida, I might add. We want to keep putting that in there, too. All right, Byron, what's the story here? Well, I mean, to me, this should have been a layup. What's the story here?
Larry, look, I've been coming on your show for months. I've been telling everybody that mandatory spending is going to be the thing that uncorks this entire deal. You're absolutely right in your riff about growth, tax policy. There's great tax policy in this bill that's going to matter to poor Americans, middle-income Americans, people at the top, economic growth, investment in America. That's all there, but we have to bend the mandatory spending curve. And so I think we're in the final stages. Typically in these bills, there's always some last-minute negotiations that go on. It is going on about spending. And let me also add, there are still negotiations going on about SALT. And so to my colleagues in New York and California, they want to take the SALT cap from $10,000 where it is now to $40,000 for single people, $80,000 for married people. And so, yeah, there are members who are pushing back on that, who are saying, well, how come you guys are getting all that in a SALT deduction, but then you also at the same time won't help us do more cutting when it comes to mandatory spending? So we're in the final stages of these negotiations, these conversations. I anticipate we're going to be able to resolve this sometime over the weekend, early into next week, and we're going to pass one big, beautiful bill.
I mean, you know, again, I come back to this point. Kevin Hassett and I talking, I think it was Wednesday night. In any case, if you re-up the growth numbers, as it should, with this kind of tax cut package right by itself, and also the deregulation part of the tax cut package, okay, you're almost guaranteed 3% plus growth over the next 5 to 10 years, okay? Compared to the CBO's paltry number, which is really like 1.7 to 2.0, okay? So it's a full percentage point better economic growth. That's worth $4 trillion. $4 trillion. So let's say, Byron, you're a financial man. Let's say I want to bring the share of spending to GDP down. Best way to do that? Growth. Absolutely. It dwarfs everything else. Now, I'm in favor of work eligibility. Able-bodied people should not be on Medicaid. Illegals should not be on Medicaid. I'm all in favor of that stuff. Okay, let's have workfare, not welfare. I'll get to the 30,000 cap in a minute. But I'm just saying, if you put in the proper growth numbers and you don't have them in there, they're not there. The Ways and Means number was 2.1 for the next 10 years. That's way, way, way too low, given the kind of package that you're spending. You put in the right numbers, what do you get? Spending as a share of GDP comes down. Deficits as a share of GDP comes down. Debt as a share of GDP comes down. And it does so, year in and year out for the next 10 years or even longer. I just don't know why more people don't talk in those terms. You're not going to rip the budget apart to shreds. You're not going to put it back to 2019. It's better off growing your way out of this with the appropriate changes in some of these entitlement programs. I mean, growth, Byron, it solves everything.
It solves a lot, Larry. One thing I will say is that the current way that Medicaid is structured, we spend $9 for single men who are able-bodied. But if you're a pregnant woman, if you're a kid, if you're elderly, we spend $1.33. That's the way Obamacare changed the trajectory of Medicaid in this country. So you do have members who are saying, you know what? Maybe it's time to start stepping down the federal match on the expansion population in Medicaid, which are single, able-bodied adults, and being far more focused on people who are pregnant women, kids, elderly, who are poor, people who are truly and deeply in need in this country. But you're right about the growth side. There's been a lot of debate about how much growth to measure in this package. What came out of Ways and Means was kind of the agreement that everybody could get to. As long as we pass this with also the deregulatory aspects of the Trump agenda, we're going to have awesome economic growth in our country. But we got to be careful. And this is a Washington problem. In Washington, they'll take all your growth, Larry, and then they'll make excuses to spend more money. And we have to be mindful of that. So there's a sweet spot we're coming to. The work requirements in the bill. I believe they started in 2029. That needs to start almost immediately.
Yeah.
Like, waiting 4 years to start work requirements is one of the big hangups. I think we're going to come to a resolution on that pretty quickly.
Well, I totally agree on that, Byron. I totally agree. I wasn't even aware that it was not kicking in, this Medicaid reform of eligibility until 2029. I don't know what the point of that is, except to just delay the final passage of the bill. As far as the, state and local deduction, $30,000 is a nice number. I believe some of that phases out up the income scale. That covers 90 to 95% of the constituents in most of these, shall we say, blue state Republican districts. I mean, how much of this, look, what's left? This is a cry. You know, what I'm hearing from some of those House members, and they're all good guys and so forth, but this is really to help their donors. This is not to help all the people in the CD. This is to help their donors. You know it, I know it, and they know that we know it, and they know that Donald Trump knows it, so they can't get away with grand larceny on this and hold up the whole package. Can't happen that way, Byron. You know what I mean? If something can't happen over time, guess what? It doesn't happen.
Well, look, to that point, Larry, I think we're going to come to a conclusion on SALT as well. It's really just about paying for it. I get the New York guys. They need to have a deal on this. I understand that. We're going to get a deal done. I think they've pushed back on what the Ways and Means Committee did, around $30,000 for individuals, $60,000 for married couples. But I think we're going to get that done. But I would stress to my New York colleagues, if you want more SALT, then you have to give up some spending. And the way Medicaid is going into the future, you can't put the pressure of your SALT deduction on the back of Florida's hospital systems, to give an example.
Right.
That's just not an equitable trade. But again, I think a lot of this stuff, we're going to come to agreement over the next couple of days. We're going to pass the president's agenda. We have a mandate from the American people. The House and the Senate have a responsibility to deliver on the president's agenda, and we are going to deliver.
Just the last one, though, I tell you. Jason Smith, chairman of the Ways and Means, did a great job. He was on this show a couple nights ago talking about it. But you can't tell me that extending the Trump tax cuts plus tax-free overtime and tax-free tips and grossing up the standard deduction, for example, for senior benefits, and faster depreciation 100% for factories as well as machinery and equipment, and all of those things, effectively a 15% tax rate on investment. If you say that that can only grow the economy by 2.1%, that's almost identical to what the CBO baseline is without any of the tax cuts or the deregulation. You're essentially saying there is no behavioral supply side change. That is bad thinking. That's the Jack Kemp issue. Bring Jack Kemp, the late great. He's looking down from the heavens on all of us. We have to put some supply side torque into these growth numbers, Byron. That's what's missing. That's why you're all coming up short all the time. Give you the last word on that one.
Look, one of the key problems we have in Washington is that the Congressional Budget Office has just been terrible at these projections. Yeah. They're always wrong, Larry.
I know.
One of the things that we must do is reform that process. So we actually are talking real numbers. I mean, they still said that the original version of the president's tax policy back in 2017 cost us $2 trillion. And it simply was not true. We raised the $2 trillion and actually raised more than that. It completely paid for itself. And then some.
I know. I think you should just ignore the CBO. Put your own baseline up. Anyway, we're running out of time. Congressman Byron Donalds, we appreciate it very much, sir. Good luck in Florida. All things gubernatorial.